Hello there. Welcome back to Alpine, and today we're going to continue our title challenge, I guess you could say. 5 races into season, we have a 1-2 in the championship. Red Bulls have fallen off, the Ferraris have fallen off, and Verstappen is nowhere to be found. Well, he is actually available, but no one, for some reason, wanted him, and Red Bull actually gave him the boot for no discernible reason, I guess you could say. But one of the more interesting suggestions last video was straight up that I should go ahead and try and get Verstappen as an affiliate. So how much would we have to pay the Verstappen to get him as an affiliate? And I think it's going to be close to 35-40 million a year. And honestly, this would be a way to financially nerf this playthrough a little bit. But as you can imagine, this is going to mess with you if you do it yourself, but we're going to do it just for the memes. We're going to offer Verstappen a 5-year affiliate contract for 38 million, and I'm very curious to see if any of the AI is actually going to go ahead and poach him here. Because if they do, that would also be kind of hilarious. This contract is going to have an insane break cost, I'm also pretty sure, so let's see what we can do there. Financially, if we take a quick look at it here, if we take a look at our kind of financial breakdown, our monthly balance, we can actually afford it. We're still going to go positive here. We're making 5 million a month right now. Verstappen wanted 3.2 million in monthly wages, so it'd still be okay. But I wouldn't recommend anyone else do this if you are following this playthrough, so to speak. We could probably also spend that money on actually fixing our, facilities, if you will. But for the time being, we are actually in a okay position where we don't need to worry much about it. The drivers don't really care about it either. So we're going to leave things as they are for the time being. Now, in terms of our staff here, they all have long-term contracts now. As you can see, some of them have 6 years left. It's funny. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump into Miami. Currently, we are focusing research, and unsurprisingly, it's going to be the main focus this season. We're going to see if we can win the championship with the car that we have right now. And as you can see here, it's not really the absolute best, so we're going to have to be strategic in order to pull this off. As Ocon... Excuse me? You lost performance? Oh, it said he went down to 84. He's actually gone down to 83. Oh, are you joking? Did he just have a double life performance drop? Because it said he went down to from 85 to 84, but he's actually 83. To be fair, though, accuracy is the only thing that was massively overinflated, so maybe it was 84. But this still doesn't make much sense to me. Let's just leave it at that. It does make sense. It's not supposed to make sense, but yeah. Ocon, who last time around, if I'm not mistaken, won China, won Suzuka, won Melbourne, 2nd place in Jeddah, and won Sakir. He's won 4 out of 5 races, with the only one he didn't win being a 2nd place. And the game tells me that going over the telemetry for past races, and those performance of Ocon is deteriorating. Okay. He's 28 years old. That's a little bit too early for me, particularly also when you have a driver that's on a roll like that. 4 out of 5 race wins. Those types of drivers shouldn't deteriorate. Let's be perfectly honest here. Now, with that said, we are going to just speed along here to Miami. There isn't really much else to do here. I'm going to be managing, of course, car parts. We need to get... and we're kind of building stock at the moment. I'm going to try and get 6 of every part, probably 9 front wings. And then as we get into the last 6 or so races, we're going to stop manufacturing parts altogether. And that way, if we have, say, a double DNF, we have plenty of parts to kind of save up. That way we can avoid needing to spend a lot of money buying new ones. But yeah, with that said, I'm just going to jump into Miami here, and we'll see if Ocon is going to fall off drastically now that the game has decided that he has lost his touch, so to speak. Let's see how Miami goes. Sprint hasn't really gone our way here, with us now in 4th and 5th, and with 3 laps rather to go. We found ourselves in a bit of a pickle, as Danny Rick has been taken out by, I guess you could say, his former team. So yeah, we have caught up to Norris, but let's face it, Piastri's signs are a little bit too far up the road. But let's face it, it was 3 laps ago. They would have burned down the tires a little bit insane levels here. I don't think we are getting any more racing laps, but if we are, we're actually in a prime position to get something done. But yeah, unfortunately that, not the greatest sprint quality, not the greatest sprint here. But still, 4th and 5th in a sprint is acceptable. It's not a huge amount of points anyway. It's the race that is going to matter. And as you can see, we're now on the final lap. As mentioned here, 3rd and 4th was definitely within reach, but not 1st and 2nd. So we'll take that with us and go into the main race. The Miami Grand Prix gets off with a flyer as we have a red flag before the first lap even finishes. As the classic, at this point, Schumacher is off and takes kind of out the Haas as well. I think the Haas will be able to continue. Schumacher is definitely out. And unfortunately, bad qualifying combined with a bad start puts us a little bit further down the order. And this is going to make our life here a little bit hard in 6th and 8th. Now, we should still be fine, get me wrong, but it is going to make things a little bit more challenging. We are also expecting rain here in this race, so that's going to make things a little bit more interesting. But yeah, as you can see, the show is still running. No big surprise there, really. And Gasly here might even be able to get Hülkenberg on the restart. Actually, both of our drivers got one opponent on the restart. We did also underfuel, so this kind of works out in our advantage massively. Now, we also do have a concern here, and that is it's going to start raining, and it's going to start raining pretty soon. I really wish I could have taken a look at this before we went into during the red flag. Honestly, they need to fix that so you can actually see what the expectations are on restart, and particularly when you know that wet weather is coming. In this case, I didn't expect to move it up that aggressively, but it has. It was expected around lap 35. Before the red flags, I thought we were still going to get around lap 15 or so, probably. But yeah, it being moved up to lap 10, well, it is still lap 15-ish, so I wasn't wrong, but still. Probably would have been better to not do the medium tire, but that doesn't matter at this point. We're still going to try and make something out of this race, and honestly, I think we have a good chance of getting Ocon, probably another podium at the very least. The rain has arrived, and right now it's causing my computer to have a bit of a stroke. As you can probably see here by just turning it up to 4 times, we are jittering quite a bit. So I do have a mod that kind of makes things look a lot better, which probably has an effect on the rain, let's be perfectly honest. So this is not the game's fault, it's my fault for modding the game. Just want to be absolutely clear on that, but rain performance does leave a lot to be desired, let's be fair. Now, we're actually currently looking fairly decent. We're about 3 seconds off the lead. We are 5 seconds with Gasly. And having our drivers kind of create a little bit of a gap between themselves is not a terrible thing, because it's going to make pitting here a lot easier. Now, I think what we do is probably that we're going to respond here with Gasly. We're going to allow him to pit first, and then we're going to pit Ocon later on. So let's see how that works out for us. Gasly is now entering the pit. And is he going to have a clean stop? 2.4 seconds, that's acceptable. He retains his position in the train here. The question now for Ocon is straight up going to be, can he make up enough time on this medium stint to jump to the front of the line? Or is he going to be losing out massively here, purely due to the fact that he will have to struggle a little bit? We have now reached track or damp track condition, and already we can kind of see here with time consideration being 21 seconds. Now, leaving Ocon out was not the best call I've ever made. He's going to come out basically around where Gasly is. Double stacking probably wouldn't have actually been more beneficial. And we also need to make a strategy call now on, are we going to be aggressive? Are we going to run 2 stints of inters, or are we going to bank on 1 stint being faster? So in this case, we probably end up doing something like this, where we run about 20-ish laps on both inter tires. And is that going to be quicker than, say, run a standard set? A lot quicker. Good 20 seconds quicker. So I think we've already decided what we do here. we burn these inters into the absolute ground. And then we take it from there. So let's see now what happens. Again, the game is a little bit laggy, probably due to, again, the mod that I have installed. It makes the graphics look a little bit better. So don't take it at face value. Unfortunately for Ocon here, yeah, this definitely backfired. He's probably lost about 4 seconds that lap. As you can see that he is now around that behind Gasly. There is just one silver lining, is that we can reach peak confidence again. But we definitely do need to clear the cars ahead in order to get clean air again, because if we don't do that, we're just going to end up burning these tires. They can go up to 105 degrees by the looks of it, and we want to get past Hamilton, past Sainz as quickly as possible so we don't reach that 105 degree window. Now this is going to be a very aggressive strategy, but I think it's going to be the one that is going to pay out the most. Let's see what we can do with Ocon. If we can get him to just fly by Hamilton maybe more or less immediately, and then we can start chasing down Sainz. Gasly is closing the gap to the cars in front, so it is looking like we might have the strategy unlocked here. And Gasly is running under that 105 degree window, which is basically where we want to be. Ocon is slightly over it because he's running behind other cars, so that does kind of mean that we are running very on the edge here. We might need to turn ourselves down to aggressive, or rather the second stint might need to be an aggressive stint rather than an attack stint. We'll have to see how we deal with that. But for now, Gasly is chasing down Norris and Piastri. If you can get by them, we're going to be very, very happy. But yeah, as I mentioned here, the heat is being a little bit too much here, to the point where we might, as mentioned, be forced to run aggressive for a while. Let's see what we can do. We have a safety car here now that is going to make things a little bit more interesting. Hulkenberg and Porsche are out, and Rick and Show has already opted to pit. And honestly, that's not too surprising. If we were to pit here, let's take a quick look. If we were to pit under these time considerations, 17 seconds, we'd actually be able to most likely come out ahead of Albon, Leclerc, Drogovic. We'd lose the 2 games that we have on Sainz and Hamilton. Let's be perfectly honest, that is going to be worth it. And unfortunately, because we had a wet kind of pre-race here, we are going to have to go on to older inters. They've basically been barely used, but that shouldn't be have a huge effect though, so we'll be fine. What has Porsche done? Has he locked up and taken out? Oh yeah, that's a. I felt like he sped up when he started braking rather than slowing down, so that was quite bad. But yeah, that is another couple of cars out, and as I mentioned here, we are going to do the double stack. It just makes the most sense. We're probably going to lose out a little bit here potentially, but the gap between the cars is 4 seconds, so it should be viable to do this. And I'm a little bit curious how many cars are actually going to pit. If we're lucky, the only thing we're going to lose here is the gap to Sainz and Hamilton. And we can already see that every car so far has gone into the pits, including Sainz and Hamilton. So Gasly, I need you to have the best stop that you've ever had, 2.5 seconds, held off a little bit there by Piastri. That could cost us a little bit, but looks like we survived just barely. Look at that gap, it's barely non-existent. So honestly, good stuff from Gasly. If we were a little bit quicker, we might have actually jumped Piastri there. This kind of closes things down again, and we're going to have to do a little bit of a... Honestly, we're going to have to do a little bit of a judgment call here once the safety car is coming in, and it's actually coming in just now. And that judgment call is going to be, is it better to add another interstint to this, or should we try and survive on the inters that we have right now? Because the next stint is going to be another 97 one tire. But can we actually make the gap big enough here by doing so that it would be faster to pit? Not really. But it does kind of also balance the fact that we need to be able to run the tire in full attack, which just isn't viable. So it's a bit of a 50-50 this one, because if we run attack here and we get by, probably are going to have to pit before the end. Question is, can we build a big enough gap to Norris and Piastri to make it worth it? And that's going to be the difficult one here. But I think with the position that we now find ourselves in, it is actually worth it to just go full attack and at least try and get past them. Then make a decision from there. So let's see what we can do here. Gasly is going to be launching an attack on Piastri and Norris. Same for Ocon here, who has actually picked up a bit of a mechanical fault to the gearbox. It's going to mess with his acceleration. That's basically going to make overtaking a lot harder for him. Is it going to be the better choice to do the extra pit stop? Or should we try and survive on the tires that we have? That's kind of the question that we find ourselves asking right now. And honestly, from what I'm seeing this far, kind of taking care of these tires and running an attack towards the end is probably going to be better than what we're doing right now. So we're going to try and do just that. Let's take a look here. The wet tires are kind of also notorious for being terrible at, you know, taking care of them. It's going to be a lot slower, as you can see. But if we feel like we're falling far behind, we'll just tune them back to normal, maybe even aggressive. But now, though, looks like we are losing a little bit. So yeah, let's run this stint aggressive like we initially thought. And we might have to be happy here with a potential 3rd and 4th place finish. It might just be all that we're getting here. Norris and Piastri has been pretty quick. And if we can secure 3rd and particularly 4th if Ocon with this mechanical failure, I think that would be acceptable. Now, it is again a hard choice here. But Gasly, I think if we push, he's actually going to be able to maybe stay with the top 2 ones here. They're actually pushing their tires a little bit. You know what? We're going for the double. It's more fun that way. We're going to go double. I doubted myself. We're going to try it and see if we can convert that into something better than just one car on the podium. We're about to try the gamble with a double stall for Gasly here. It has not really worked out. We're falling even further backwards. Ocon's fault, it said temporary, has definitely not been temporary. It's been kind of permanent. And it's definitely slowing him down quite a huge amount here, I'll be perfectly honest. And for Gasly now, who is entering the pit, we'll have to see exactly where he comes out. He's not going to have a good time. He's going to come out probably between Sargent and the Aston, which means we need to just deploy and get by quickly. And for Ocon here, he actually also ended up in a bad spot, right behind another car. So our pit stops here needed to be 3/10 quicker, and then we would have been in a much better position. But Ocon has gotten his overtake done. We can now start chasing down some of the other cars here. Gasly is also flying. The question is just, can he close that 17-second gap to Sainz before the end of this? That's going to be our challenge, I guess you could say. For now, though, he is flying, so this might very well be possible. But for Ocon, who's lacking acceleration, he's going to have a hard time getting the overtakes done. Although he is doing a good job right now. We're just going to keep on burning these tires absolutely into the ground. We don't care if they overheat at this point. We're going to be pushing till the end. For Gasly, I did kind of forget to turn off his ERS here. So we need to harvest a little bit, get energy back so we can get the overtake done on Tsunoda. But yeah, he's flying 3 seconds faster than the rest here, with, of course, ERS help. Let's see where we actually end up in this race. It's been a little bit of a tragedy. Luckily for us, though, we still get paid, as long as we finish 16th or above. With about 4 or 5 laps remaining here, Gasly has caught up to Sainz, who just had his failure evolve, and the same has actually happened for Ocon. It will now be examined after the session, which is not a good thing, because Ocon is currently trying to chase down Albon for 6th, so this is going to slow us down drastically. There's been a bunch of faults this race, as you can see. There's currently 5 major ones, and for Gasly here, he's actually in a bit of an interesting position, because if we didn't have that safety car, this strategy probably would have put him closer to the podium, I'll be honest. We also did have an incident here with Ocon doing a bit of a line lockup, but that is why he has such a vast difference in tire compared to his teammate. But you can definitely see the gearbox acceleration here is hurting us quite drastically. That is also in terms of getting overtakes done. We are just going to run balance from here on out, and we're going to try and just stay ahead of Albon. I don't think we're getting Tsunoda. We need to try and just make sure that this fault does not escalate further, so we're kind of slowing down our fuel usage in order to try and avoid any serious incidents. But yeah, I think this is where we're going to end up, although Ocon did lose the position again. We can't get that one back. We might just have to push here and sacrifice, gamble a little bit here in order to get that 6th place. But we should be able to beat Albon here with relative ease, so I'm not worried. But yeah, I can imagine we're going to hold position now until the end of this race. So Piastri ends up winning, Norris comes second, Gasly is going to get that last podium slot. But Ocon isn't completely out of the woods just yet. And we have Albon there looking for an attack, but looks like Ocon isn't just enough here. Unfortunately, not a good result for us, but it is how it be sometimes. Let's be honest, you can't win every race. And particularly here with the Renault engine, which lacks power and acceleration, we were never expected to really do well to begin with. Yeah, drivers, Ocon still remains first, but Piastri definitely is catching up. Same can be said for Gasly, got pushed down. But yeah, Piastri is scoring 33 points this weekend and maximized. And the only thing he's missing is just that fastest lap point. So McLaren getting a little bit dangerous, but let's face it, as long as just Piastri scores points, we'll at least get constructors. It's a little bit of a silver lining there, or lining, I guess is the word. But yeah, let's see here how our car is looking, and it looks like it's absolutely destroyed. Needs some replacements, and that gearbox failure did become permanent, but with the regulation changes, we actually have 5 gearboxes, we have 3 ERSs, and we have 4 engines. So this year, we're not going to have any problems with powertrain components. And the reality of the situation is, I should have changed them earlier because of that. So that is all on me. We're still looking good here in terms of parts, but I'm just going to kind of manufacture up to the kind of safe point here, the cap, if you will. And we'll continue from there. Yeah, Imola's in 11 days. Let's jump straight in. So Verstappen has accepted the contract that we offered him, where he is going to become an Alpine affiliate driver for 5 seasons with 0.5 as a breaker multiplier. 38 million is a little bit of high in terms of his pay. It's actually, I believe, higher than both of these guys combined, with Gasly getting 12.5 and Ocon getting also 12.5. He's making about 1.5 times their combined paychecks. Yes, this is a financially sound decision. Let's go ahead and hire Max Verstappen as our one and only affiliate, and we have put him here on a 5-year contract, 88 million to terminate that contract. So let's see if any of the AI teams take that deal. Yeah, let's jump to Imola here. In Italy, we are getting closer here now to, well, our first pit stop. The rest have already pitted. And as you can see, we're not really doing that well. Pit stops here are fairly long at 28 seconds. We're going to come out where the Ferraris are when we actually do pit, and we're going to be 15 seconds off the pace to Sainz here. That's kind of the choice that we made. We are going to be coming out on a hard tire. We are going to have a little bit of that tire advantage, and hopefully we can convert that into a good result here. Now, generally, places where we do one stops, like Italy here, we aren't expected to perform well. And honestly, the AI has kind of developed the car a little bit more now, so we're probably the 3rd or even the 4th fastest team on track. And that's going to make things a little bit more interesting going towards the end of the season, I think. So let's see how this goes. It's not going to be a lot really to report from this race. We qualified 7th and 8th. We've made our way up to basically find the Ferraris here. The Red Bulls and the McLarens are still going to be a bit of an issue. But as you can see here, we come out basically where Hamilton is. We have basically better tire wear, and we could potentially mess around with that to try and make a strategy here where we have more advantage towards the end. But as you can see, 4 seconds versus, you know, not burning them. We're going to go aggressive here till the end and try and make something happen, because degradation on these hard tires shouldn't really be as high as we are anticipating. And what happened? Why are we suddenly closer to leader? But yeah, the degradation of these tires shouldn't be that high, as Gasly overtakes Leclerc and is now going to overtake Hamilton. But yeah, we shouldn't have any issues with beating those two teams at least. Drogovic, Norris is potentially also someone we can get. It's just Sainz and Piastri that are proving to be absolute units right now. and being a real threat to any sort of championship opportunity. But we're going to see how this race unfolds. We're not really going to do much more than what we've done. We underfueled. We are kind of taking a little bit slow right now, which is fine. But we will see if we can catch at least Norris. But Sainz, Piastri, as I mentioned, probably going to be a little bit harder to pull off. We're now getting close to the end of this race, and Gasly has actually made it into a top 3 position here, and could potentially even get Sainz by the end. But unfortunately, we're a little bit too slow. You can see the same with Ocon. He is 5 seconds down the road. But it is what it is. It is a bit of a shame that we couldn't get a better result here. But as I mentioned, because of kind of how the game works with us taking advantage of tires, this is probably the best that we could have hoped for. So we are going to be happy with the 3rd and 5th here. And we're going to be heading into Monaco, which is one of those races where we are kind of expecting a 1-2 finish, purely due to the fact that we should have a huge advantage there. But Piastri, as it stands, could very well snatch the Drivers' Championship from us, which I have mentioned. But constructors-wise, we should still be fairly safe, purely due to the fact that McLaren doesn't have a decent second driver. Red Bull is being absolutely shafted by Piastri on a regular basis. So we're probably going to win one of the championships. It's going to be a little bit harder to win both without any investment into the design, I think. Chassis design here and side pod research on it. Sorry, all 3 of them are research projects. Triple research finished. And we're going to go ahead and get started on the next research project. I'm just going to double check. We're currently doing a rear wing. I imagine we've already done front wing, but helps to check. We've not done front wing according to this. That's a little bit worrying. But we are in May, so it makes sense. So let's go ahead and do that front wing research. We're going to put in safety and wind tunnel. Again, I just prefer to do the wings first. They take the longest time anyways. So we are going to put in full research here. And just again, I'm going to mention it this episode as well. If you want to limit yourself a little bit compared to the AI, because this is going to make a rocket ship in Season 3. It's basically just a get good quick guide. We probably should do a balanced playthrough guide as well at some point. But basically, this is focusing on getting the best car that you can going into Season 2 and potential of lapping the field. So we're going to focus on low speed cornering mainly, and anything else is just a bonus. So airflow front, low speed cornering. And while we could invest a little bit here, you can see that it doesn't actually have any value. We gain 0.001 medium, but we lose a lot of low speed. And you can kind of see that same thing happening in high speed. We get a little bit more, but you get more of high speed anyway. So yeah, there's just no point in going anything other than this, I feel. You could make an argument for airflow, but it's so weak in this year's game that I don't feel like I need it unless it's a rainy race. And the majority of your races won't be rainy. So you basically, I'm not going to sacrifice performance for dry races for when it rains, just to perform a little bit more equally. So we're going to do this, and we're going to put in side pod, engine, airflow front, and I think we're just going to do this to start off with. Do a couple of more projects with cooling and airflow middle. And we're going to do kind of similarly here for the chassis. We're going to be focusing on these parts, chassis and sideboard in particular. We're not going to use CFD on these two. We're just going to make sure that we have a project running for each of these throughout the entire season. So get that sorted. And with that said, I think we're ready now to just head into Monte Carlo, which is probably going to be the last race of today's episode. And if that too is kind of a smooth affair like Imola was, then we are probably just going to have a bit of a shorter episode today, because I need to sleep and it's getting late. So let us go to Monte Carlo, Monaco, see if we can turn this into another good result for us. We are ready for Monaco. And with that, we're going to get into the race weekend here. Now, it is unfortunately going to be rain, which again is kind of something that we're bad at. It's estimated to come around lap 20, but as you can see, this strategy implies that it's going to come around lap 36 or so. Now, generally, this is far more accurate than anything the weather center will give you. So what we're going to do is actually do a very aggressive full attack strategy for the most part. But we're going to go ahead and take it a little bit easier, probably after the first couple of laps. Going to run normal, probably until lap 5, 6, 7, maybe 10. And then we can slow things down after that. We do, of course, want to run the underfueling here. Going to keep that up. There's no point not doing so. That is exactly what we have set up here. We're starting 3rd and 5th, which isn't too bad. So let's see if we can actually turn this Monaco race, even though it's going to be some rain, into one for the history books, scoring ourselves some good points. Is that a soft tire on the Red Bull? Piastri's gone for medium and Norris has gone for soft. They're the only ones on different tires, so either they're going to run them slower, or we're about to see them doing a pit stop before the rain arrives. Because as I said, I think it's going to come around lap 30, 35. The force strategy is usually pretty accurate, let's put it like that, on when the rain actually arrives. But since we've already done the overtake here on science, we're running 3rd and 4th behind a soft and a medium runner. We're actually going to tune down our cars right now. There's no point in really wearing the tires out just yet when we can take it a little bit slower and a little bit safer behind the McLaren and the Red Bull. So let us go ahead and do just that. Save up a little bit of energy as well. And as I said, we're probably going to do this for the first 10 or so laps just to kind of build a tire offset. They're not really burning them too much yet, because the Piastri is really in line with the hard runners here. So could be that they're going to be taking care of their tires. And even though they're, building a gap right now, if they're going to stay 30 laps on these tires, that gap is nothing. Let's see how this turns out. We've arrived very close now to lap 10, and as you can see, the degradation here is 78, 76, 79 for the hard runners. Degradation is incredibly similar for all the teams here. So we're actually just going to go full attack and start pushing these tires. If we take a look at track details here, rain's still scheduled to around lap 20, but we can see that it's clear skies in 12 minutes. So 16 minutes from now is the earliest the rain can start, and well, that should be probably a little bit more than just 10 laps time. So we should still be in a very, very good position. Now, I would love it if we could get away from science without using DRS, which is probably not possible. So I'm going to allow both Gasly and Ocon here to push a little bit of DRS for a lap or so, just in order to build a gap now to the cars behind. Because the bigger the gap to behind, the better it would be if we need to say double stack for the rain. And we're now going to start taking some time out of the cars ahead. But as I mentioned, we have some time here. The rain is moving further away, so I think the estimation here, lap 34, 35, is probably correct by the fourth strategy. So keep that in mind when you make strategy. The fourth one is usually more accurate than your weather center. With that in mind, though, we are going to allow our cars here just to hunt a little bit. Gasly has lost a lot of time to Ocon, but Ocon right now is chasing down Norris in particular by a second a lap, second and a half for Piastri. So the rain is scheduled to arrive in just 3 minutes here, but we've been stuck behind Norris for the past couple of laps and able to overtake, even though they are driving quite a bit slower than us, I'd argue. So hopefully Ocon and maybe even Gasly, if we give him a little bit of deploy, we'll be able to get the overtake done on this lap. Then we can chase down Piastri. I would be really, really happy if we could get Piastri before the end. I think Norris just secured DRS to add insult to injury here. And he did. He secured DRS from a back marker. And we're kind of playing slalom right now in order to catch up and get things done. We could probably also run far more aggressive here, because the rain is going to arrive around lap 30-ish. So I took a little bit more care of the tires than I needed to, I'll be honest. We are catching Norris and Piastri here. So we might get both of them by the time that we actually end up pitting for the intermediate tires, which would be the dream, let's be perfectly honest. Norris should be an easy meal this time around, and it does happen. And if we have enough energy, we might get Piastri on this very lap. And that would, as I mentioned, be huge for the championship chances that we have. For Gasly, I'm going to do the same. We're going to deploy. And I think we're just going to count on the DRS zone here for getting past Piastri and also Norris for that regard. Okay, rain is arriving, and with that, our performance has dropped. Apparently 1.7 has done something weird with the rain. That's the best way I can put it. That causes weird lag, unfortunately. It is not a mod. It happens the exact same way if I remove those mods and try the same thing. So it's basically the rain that is causing this. Now, with the amount of rain that we're getting, in this case it's up to 0.60 in one lap, I think we have no choice but to do a double stack. And we're not really in a good position to do the double stack here. We should be able to maintain our positions, if you will. But that's probably going to be around it. We're going to have to pray here that Ocon has a clean stop because Norris came in as well. And that is a clean stop for Ocon. But he was slower than Piastri, so he's out behind him. And Gasly gets the same because of that. So we actually got held up in the pits a little bit. And that punished us severely. Now, we have a secondary problem here, and that is going to be strategy. And I think we're going to have to make a decision. We're going to have to make a decision here if we do 1 or 2 stops. And, well, one stopper, or rather, the one stop we've done is very good. This is 6 seconds slower. We do have a lot more time to work on. I think if we are going to run full attack, we're going to need an extra stop. So let's see how that works. But yeah, the changing conditions now in 1.7 is definitely struggling. That's the best way I can put it. Let's see if we can get Ocon past Piastri, and looks like we already lost a ton of time there. So let's go ahead. We're going to recharge. We're going to try and launch an attack. And maybe if we get past, we will slow down a little bit and go for just the one stopper. But we will see what we can do. It's just a weird situation, I feel, where we kind of have put ourselves in a bad position. 2 stopper is probably going to be the most beneficial thing here because heat is going up rather quickly.
Battery is full.
So we'll have to see what we can do. If the AI is currently doing the same thing we are, which is full push, let's see if we can get an overtake done. See if we can turn an extra stop into maybe a 1-2. So unfortunately, we haven't actually been able to catch nor get past Norris or Piastri at this point, and I think pitting to overtake is actually going to be our best choice there. It's about 20 laps to go. So with half a second a lap gained, that's not a huge amount in terms of pace, but I think it's going to be our best choice in trying to get something done here. We're just not catching them at the moment, so try and get a tire offset, maybe see if we get a lucky safety car or something. That could definitely work out in our advantage. And we're going to be pitting, I think, Gasly next lap, because he can pit without losing his position to Sainz if he extends that gap slightly. For Ocon, a 2.3 second stop is pretty good. It's going to have him come out here in 4th. And what I think we do here is that we run these tires on full attack now. We just full send it all the way, and we try and make something happen. And Gasly is definitely creating the gap that is needed to Sainz here, so we're going to tune him down again. Let's see here, can he come up before Sainz? 2.3 second stop again. Should be just fine. Actually, really fine. Really good gap there. And the question now is going to be a very simple. Can Ocon and can Gasly close down and get Norris or Piastri before the end of this? Or did they actually beat us out with those medium and soft tires? And of course, the fact that we got stuck behind them is pretty damning in this case. So currently we are running 17.5s versus basically the same. 17 blank there for Gasly, so we might be getting half a second to a second gained per lap, and that's going to be enough that we might catch Norris by the end of it for one car. But that's basically us getting back to where we started, so we'll have to see how that goes. Gasly is a little quicker. He ran almost 2 seconds faster, so we'll have to see. 2 seconds faster for Ocon. Back markers are going to cause some issues. 15 laps to go. Let's see what we can do here. Unfortunately for us here, the strategy doesn't really seem to have paid off. So we've had a pretty bad video episode altogether with our results, kind of putting both specifically Piastri back into the fight, but also Norris a little bit here. And there's not really much we can do about it at this point. It's just a shame that the game runs extremely poorly now in rating conditions. And I would actually like to know if that's the same for others who are playing 1.7 at the moment. Does your game run like absolute sludge? Because mine currently is, and as I mentioned, that is with and without mods. So seems to be a bit of a problem with rain in particular. And it's only rain that kind of eats my my graphics card, so to speak. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not getting Norris. It's 2 seconds. It's equal on tires. That just does not... It just isn't viable. Maybe if we pit a little bit earlier, we could have made something happen. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It's just how things be with our current car made for wet conditions. It just does not work. And Monaco, which should have been an easy 1-2 for us, did bite us in the back with the result here. Honestly, this is not a good one. Ocon is still in charge of the championship here, but Piastri is charging, and he could definitely cause us some pain before the end of this year. So I'll see how that goes. I think we're still going to get the constructors with Alpine because, as I mentioned here, Red Bull and McLaren have their own issues for gaining points. So I still think we have a good chance, but we need to kind of maximize going forwards. Now, with that said, this is going to be the end to this very short episode today. I'd like to sleep, and to do that, I kind of need to call it here. Apologies, hope you still enjoyed the 3 races. Not really much happened except for, you know, sadness in Monaco, Max's in affiliate. So let me know what you think, and again, thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye bye.